are ready. Okay, it is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call to order this public fiscal budget, first reading of, where am I?
Ouch.
I'm sorry. I call to order City Council budget hearing Thursday, September 10th, 2015 at 7 o'clock here at City Hall. Thank you, Nancy. Here at City Hall and Council Chambers. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Acting Mayor Bill Colombo.
Here.
Councilman Steve O'Neill.
Here.
Councilwoman Nancy Britton. Here. Councilman Terrence Rowe.
Here.
Councilwoman Phyllis Gray.
Here.
Sorry, ma'am. City Attorney Joseph Public, please let the record show he is absent this evening, and City Manager Tom O'Neill.
Here.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, any announcements to open?
I just wanted
I
to
mean,
state,
obviously, we're gonna jump right into it, so.
right, this is our first public hearing on the budget. Our second public hearing is 2 weeks from now, would be on September 24. So tonight, you know, the action that you take will be to adopt the budget and make any changes that you deem appropriate. I'll briefly say this now so I don't have to repeat myself. We made the changes that you asked for. We put some money in for the US 19 median so that we can at least get started on that if we have an opportunity to execute the various agreements with the Florida Department of Transportation. We also put money back into the Paint Up Fix Up grants. We put $35,000 in that you requested. You can change that, you can lower it, you can raise it. We also put $5,000 in for the special events. Likewise, you can change that, raise it or lower it as you deem appropriate. So with that, yeah, I have no further comments.
Okay, I'll go out to comments from the general public. Anybody want to speak on something right now? Well, obviously, we'll speak on the other issues when we come to them, but, all right, no comments from the general public. Comments from up here back at the dais. Ladies and gentlemen. Any comments, Mr. Rowe? Nothing open?
Well, let's just get right into it.
Okay. Phyllis, Steve? No?
I was just getting right into it.
Oh, Nancy is ready to speak.
Yeah, I was just saying, let's
Oh,
get right.
I am so sorry. I thought you meant, let's get right into the agenda, so. My
Well, I was
mistake.
gonna start getting into the agenda. We're not ready for that yet, I guess.
Comments from us, and then after that, yeah, then we get into the
Well,
agenda.
Well, my comment's gonna be, I think we really need to look at the $35,000 that we have into the Paint Up Fix It program. And also, any spending for, fireworks.
Right, okay. Well, obviously, issues we can get into, you know, under the budget items, so. Okay.
Are we ready to talk about that?
As soon as I say, we're ready for council business, item number 1. I've just, the general comments from Dias,
Oh.
that was all I was doing
Oh,
at that
general
point.
comments from
you know,
staff.
yeah, from us.
All right, then I'll reserve my comments.
Okay, very well. Okay, council business is resolution number 1, the adoption of the millage rate. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, this is an item, a resolution, which will again be considered on September 24, adopting a millage rate for the city of Port Richey. You have set that tentatively at 6.7666 mils. The current rate is 5.434. The adjusted rollback is 5.7666. The budget document that you have is balanced based on 5.7666, which is the adjusted rollback rate.
Okay, very well. Discussion from council at this point.
Depends which side you want to open it up. You guys want to open it up over there?
I mean, you know, this on millage rate, so, you know, we're gonna adopt it here.
I mean, I can start.
First
I
go
don't
around.
mind. I know we're going to come back,
Mhm.
but I know in the past, you have noted that, and I'm looking at page 2, that majority vote, maximum millage, 5.8796. Two-thirds vote, maximum millage, 6.4676. And of course, what we currently see, which we allotted a short time ago, was the...
Mr. O'Neill, please, could I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
I simply want to, for the record, announce agenda item number 1 is resolution number 15-7, adoption of the millage rate. I failed to say that, so. for
Okay.
the public, so please carry on. Sorry to
Right.
interrupt.
Well, no, that's no problem. And the proposed, which was 6.7666, we had, I believe after the very first meeting, we had some of the revenue changes. And I know probably at some point during this discussion, we're going to highlight, or it'll come back to some of those. You know, we had the draft, and then we had the change, and then, of course, we had the impact numbers. I believe everybody got one of these that actually depicted that. Obviously, there'll be more comments coming up, but I think as we go forward, and you know, it's no secret that I was certainly a fan of the 6.77. I know that requires a vote of everyone to move forward on that, and I'll tell you why. We had Mr. Schatzel here not too long ago. All of us had questions, and he had noted that we were seeing a pattern in these lost revenues. Now, whether we consider that we're currently bringing in with the red light somewhere around $5,000 to $7,000, we think back to what we were getting when that initially first started. It's a huge change, huge. The lost revenues in relation to formulation from the CRA is another. And the result of those on the reserves has been considerable. This to me has been, as he described it, we've been on a collision course, as he noted, for the last 5 to 6 years. And that came actually from comments he made while he was here. I think we're all familiar with, you know, a snowball effect, and that's where I see that we're at right now. We're going to keep seeing these reduced revenues. We've talked about a few ideas to increase those. We haven't gotten there, which is why I'm picking the 6.7. We're going to talk about the stormwater. A tentative figure for that, our city manager might have some numbers on that. We talked about street lighting. What is the effect of that going to be? Combined, possibly, those could be $250,000. We remember when we lost the communication tax, and that was close to that figure as well, and the impact that it had. And yet we still remained in somewhat of a low range. Again, we also saw this collision course with the water, and we saw what we had to do 10 years later. And then we saw its effect with the $600,000 that's noted that became part of the conversation as well. That's a lot of money. So I just feel like, you know, again, with the collision course that we're on, when we consider $700,000 approximately spent CRA with staff, you're talking about approximately 3 mills or so. You know, again, if you add those numbers, you're New Port Richey. We're Port Richey. We've been trying to slowly, again, have those conversations about revenue that I know are going to come forward. I've urged that as far as the stormwater, and I know Tom has had 3 or 4 things that he's outlined as far as revenues as well. We'll have those conversations, but I still think we're going to see some small increases. You know, this year, we may just go ahead and go back with the rollback rate again. But I assure you, next year, you won't have that choice. Those numbers will just eat it up. And I can see that coming. I think Nancy already said about the 35K. Look, we're only talking about 35K. I've got the list right here going back on the paint fix-up. This that I dug out was project amount was requested was $316,000 when we started. The grant funds paid were about $127,000. I've got the names, I've got the projects. As we indicated, it was all air conditioning, so forth. Forget about the plan. 35K, I don't think we need to go there. I know that's a small amount of money per se, but you know, right now, every dollar counts as we're going forward. Because again, I just think this collision course that we're on, until we get into that revenue talks, and we will. We've had that before, as I said, with the communication tax and bringing back those monies. That was important. But you know, try and remember what Mr. Schatzel had said while he was here. These folks work hard on these numbers. They work hard on this budget. And you want to have police and fire here, and that's going to cost you about $2 million. I don't know maybe how you can be a city without that kind of service, but if we don't do something with these numbers, we're going to be asking those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy?
Just a quick comment to some of your, one point that you made. And you talked about Mr. Schatzel and how he, you know, said that for years he's seen this coming and whatnot. Well, I beg to differ with that, because he stood out here and told us that, you know, we took this city from financial ruin and brought it back. Okay, and we heard that from Mr. Schatzel, and we worked really hard at that. What has affected us and what has affected our reserves is the housing market took a dive. And so therefore, you know, now we're not bringing as many dollars in, and of course the red light cameras, you know, but the whole purpose for the red light cameras was not, in my mind, for any kind of financing. The red light cameras was for safety. And I don't know if we're forgetting that, but, you know, I feel as though that they were for safety. And, you know, the red light cameras were never something that we really knew that or figured that would be here forever anyway. But, you know, I just want to remind you that, you know, that we have taken this city from one point, from a very bad point to a very good one. So do I agree that, you know, we have to look at the CRA dollars that are going in to fund the city? Absolutely. We have 9 years left for the CRA. So we have got to find a way for our taxes to take over, not so much even taxes, but our rate and some of our programs that we utilize for revenue to take over that $700,000 of payroll that the CRA is paying now. And we have 9 years to do that, and we could do it very slowly.
Bill, could I have a 30-minute rebuttal, because some of it was
A
a
30-minute
disagreement
rebuttal.
online? So I really will be very brief.
Well,
I
it's
won't
not a
even
matter
take
of
3
rebuttal. It's a matter of, you know, discussing the subject. I thought we'd go
I
around. I
just-
don't know, you know, Terry has something to say, and Phyllis does too, I'm sure, so.
And they may expand on this, but may I? 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
All right.
It's a workshop, he gets all the time
No,
he
it's not a
wants.
workshop. Well, no, it's a budget hearing. It's not a budget workshop, ma'am.
Oh. Really?
All right, now my clock
I'm usually
starts.
looser in
I reserve my
workshops.
comments. Could you open this one? please?
Unrestricted CRA fund balance, 94,536. You spend in excess of 700,000 on staffing in the city of Port Richey. Combine that with what you mentioned about the homes, that's a collision course to me. And that's basically what was depicted. But as far as the plan, this was the plan right here. The CRA reinstatement, I've got it right here in my hands, came back from
Yes, sir.
'09. That was the beginning.
Okay,
And here we are.
thank you, sir.
Good.
Mr. Rowe.
Well, we've got a budget that's set, I believe, at the rollback rate. This year, we are gonna have to get serious. We've known this is coming for quite a while. There's nothing new there. I think Pete's remarks were more along the line of where we were with the water department at one time. I remember him talking about that, recovering. But we've been hit on several fronts. The red light cameras, no doubt one of them. We got used to having the extra income, and there's always a way to spend money when you have it. This year, as we move forward, we are going to have to get serious about dealing with the budget. How we're gonna spend the monies, where we may have to cut. If the money's not there, it's not there. And of all the ideas we've been able to come up with, I don't think anything's going to give us the great revenue that we need to continue on as we have been. So we're left with an option of either making some cuts or raising the millage. And I don't see people are any better shape out there today than they were a few years ago. And it's going to be very difficult, but I think we're going to have to probably do a little of both before we're through, and that's unfortunate. Unless we find some other golden hen, which I don't see. So with that being said, I think this year, and I know Eloise had talked about this, I had talked about it back before the new year. And we had talked about finding ways of coming up with new revenues, and some of that is definitely going to help, but I don't think it's going to be enough to keep us where we have been with the services that we have. And so we're going to have to look at that, and we're going to have to get real serious, and we're going to have to get serious quick. Because, the year just slides by before you know it. And like I say, we were talking about this at the beginning of the year, and here we are in September. So I'll support this. I guess I'll make a motion now.
I can't make a motion till I read the
Oh, till you're done,
resolution by
okay.
title.
Oh, I
and
won't
Want to
then.
give Phyllis a chance to speak
I
first.
am finished.
Then I'll open the table for motions, okay? Phyllis?
Thanks, Bill. Couple of comments that I wrote down, both Steve and what Terry said about we need to come up with some ideas. And I don't know whether council realizes, but as Nancy has pointed out, CRA is for 9 more years. Of course, at that point, you can request an extension, and I don't know whether it would be granted or whether even the city would want it at that time, but I know that's possible, and I don't want to use that as a crutch. The red light cameras are with us for 20 years, starting with 2010. So if you add 20 to 2010, we've stuck with red light cameras until 2030. And I asked to see the contract. I received a copy of it this morning, as a matter of fact, to see if there was an escape clause. There is no escape clause that I can see. On first reading, I will give it to attorney friends of mine who can see things better than I, certainly. But from what I can see, there is no escape clause on this red light camera. And so, yes, we get a few $1,000s every year, and you use that money. And I was opposed to it when I was out there. I was opposed to it because it was never for safety, ever. It was a cash cow, and every city that I knew of, including where I go every day to Temple Terrace, they were so happy to have it. They're right on top of a university, and all they did was issue these tickets to these college kids. It was terrible. So it's not safety, and I'm upset that council in 2010 approved a 20-year contract. I don't know how that ever happened. I don't know how it happened. But that being said, it has happened, and we are stuck with it, unfortunately. And I don't like it at all. Don't like it at all. I'm not happy with this paint up, fix up. It's gonna go to all the wrong people, and it's only $35,000. I'm not happy with it. I said it when I was in the audience. I will say it again right here on council. I am not happy. I don't care if it was $10,000. I don't care what it is. It goes to the wrong people. And at the last council meeting 2 days ago, we started talking about code enhancement. And since that meeting, when I gave Tom some information that I got from Temple Terrace, I have received more information, which I will pass on to Tom. And those are the kind of things that I want to be able to help the people who really need help. And instead of allocating $35,000 for a paint-up, fix-up, most times going to people who could well afford to get their own windows and front doors, I can't see it. You know, I like the $5,000 for the fireworks. Maybe we can get a committee together and get some people to donate some money. I don't want it turned over to the businesses at the waterfront park. We lose control of it. It belongs to the city, and it should be our effort. I never like to give up control, ever, ever. And then as we get into, you know, the budget itself, I guess we'll talk about the budget itself. But if somebody wanted to make a motion, was about to make a motion.
Well, again, I was gonna make a couple
Yeah, you
comments
have to.
myself, and then
Yes,
I'd
of
do the
course.
first reading.
By
and-
all means.
And then I would open the floor for motions. So,
Yes.
You know, it's a tough time. It is a tough time, and it turned tough. It's been tough in many ways, in different ways, for years now. You know, we've been fighting a lot of battles. You've got differing properties of different values. You know, some go up, some go down. We've got, you know, parts of our city that the property values are going up quite nicely because they're very nice homes. We have other parts of the city where property values aren't going up. And those people that are there are generally of limited means. So, you know, I'm not in favor of going way high with the millage rate here. I just don't see it. I can't see putting that burden on our residents right now any more than I could last year. Now, if that means belt tightening, and if that means we need to be careful how we authorize funds to be spent, then that's what it should be. I agree with you to a degree on a paint-up, fix-up grant. I originally was for it simply if we put some sort of means testing on it to
Sure.
where, you know, it is based on a property value or a building value, whatever. I would say building value is the fair way to do it, which you can get right off of the property appraiser site. And that we do keep it to where it's for lower income people, the folks on Social Security, those people with limited means. Other than that, to just open it wide open like we had it before, no, I'm not for that.
Right,
So,
exactly.
so I would disagree with that. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and read this resolution 15-07, a resolution adopting the millage rate for the city of Port Richey for the fiscal year commencing on October 1st, 2015 and ending on September 30th, 2016. That was reading by title only. At this point, I will open the floor for motion.
I would like to make a motion that we adopt the rollback rate of 5.7666 mils.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All right. We can discuss that more. Obviously, we already discussed it. I'd like to go out to the public on this one. I think this would be an appropriate time, don't you think? Go out to the public. Anybody have comments on that? Mr. Jasic?
Chet Jasic, 5134 Miller Bayou Drive. I just have a question. On my proposed statement that I got in the mail last month, whenever, last month's, on the three columns, last year's, I should say, millage rate was 5.4348. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then on the last column, if it went up, and that's the one you're rolling, not gonna use that one, that was 6.7666. But the middle column, it says if nothing goes up, if you don't change anything, it's gonna go back to, mine says 5.5255. and now you're saying it's 5.7666. So why is my statement here that came in the mail different than what we're talking about now?
Can you answer that?
Yes.
Good.
That is the difference between the rollback rate and the adjusted rollback rate. The adjusted rollback rate and the rollback rate are given to us by the state, and the adjusted rollback rate is adjusted for per capita income and property values and other indices that are indicative of personal income and other factors.
Okay, so when they put this out, this is incorrect on my statement that I've got then.
I don't know what's on your statement,
Well,
but
the statement says 5.5255.
that's the rollback rate,
Yeah.
And I thought you were going back to the rollback.
Well,
the adjusted
Adjusted.
rollback rate.
Adjusted rollback,
adjusted
okay, this is
rollback
rollback, you had adjusted, that's the difference, okay. The other comment, I think you're smart in going back to the adjusted rollback rate, not raising the taxes. And we went through this last year at budget, trying to come up with new revenues, and we talked about a year ago, and again during the year. And we haven't done anything about it, so, again, you keep talking about it, but I think you gotta do it. And, anyways, that's all I have to say, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? All right, I'll bring it back up to council. We have a motion and we have a second to set the rollback rate to the adjusted, or set the millage rate to the adjusted rollback rate of 5.7666. Am I correct?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against?
Nay.
Motion passes. Our millage rate is the adjusted rollback rate. Okay. Let's see here, page 10. Agenda item number 2 is resolution number 15-8, adoption of the city administration budget. Discussion? Mr. Rowe?
I don't really have a comment if we're going to go through each of these. I know you have to read, of course, naturally.
yes.
So I guess I will just make my comment now and,
That would be fine,
you know,
sure, yeah.
instead of repeating it after every time you read.
That is entirely up to
Okay.
you, Phyllis, sure.
Going through the budget, I came up with a whole bunch of questions, and I went over them and went over them again. And my comment about the budget is that I think it's workable. It's a workable budget. But I think after this gets approved tonight, I am hoping that council will go through each and every department on an individual basis and see what savings can be made. I know it's very difficult because we have wonderful people working for us, and we have their livelihoods that have to be considered. However, we also have the life of the city that has to be considered. And I think if we took every department and looked at it carefully, how much staff we have, how much do we really need, and make some adjustments at that point, even though it's way past the passing of the budget. Even if you found something and you did it in late November, December, whenever it was, it's still a savings to the city, and it will be identified as a savings. Because, you know, going through this, it scares the heart out of me when you look at, there's not one thing that I saw in this budget where last year it was this, and this year it's less. Every department that I'm looking at is more. And that's the part that scares me. And I don't know if we've added staff that I don't know about. We will get into, I guess maybe not. Just for instance, in the police budget, there is a recommendation for a detective. is that a new person that's going to be hired, or is that somebody that's already in the department that will be promoted to detective, and it only costs just a small amount of money for the extra salary plus whatever training is necessary? Is that right, Tom?
Yes, it's not a new person.
It's not a new person, okay. And then there was something else that I saw, that you have a new police boat. Did I see that correctly?
Yes, the one thing I wanted to remind council on that, if you decide, and it's your decision, but if you decide to purchase a new boat, that would come from the Penny for Pasco Fund, which is not affected by ad valorem taxation.
Okay.
So, you know, at one point, we need to deal with the boat because it's in pretty poor condition. It's pretty old, and it's in pretty bad condition. So, and an active patrol on the water, in my experience here, has been what the residents want to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Tom, where does that boat launch?
It's kept on davits at Nix Park.
And so if police need to get out to the water, it goes out from that ramp?
Yes, they don't actually need to use the ramp. There's a boat lift there.
Okay.
And so they don't need to use the ramp. The only time it is not there is if it's in the shop for repairs.
Okay. So at what time do you use the ramp at Sand Pebble?
We haven't used it yet because that would mean that we would have to put the boat on a trailer and bring it over there. We could do that. I think you and I have talked about that in the past, and that's appreciated. But it's pretty fast for them, you know, to launch the boat with the boat lift the way it is there now, and it's
Okay.
right in the middle of the district, so it seems to work out pretty well. They don't use the boat all the time, but on good weather days, you know, is when the boat's in the water, and in particular on the weekends.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
And I'd like to point out too, as Mr. O'Neill normally does, and I didn't go to him for comment before this particular item, and don't need to before every budget item, I should say. But, you know, a budget is in fact a framework. It is not a commitment to spend. And we have the power to watch what's going out, both through those items that come before us and those items that come up on the consent agendas too, that, you know, where is this money going to? And we also have the right to look into and ask questions as you did. So, you know, just keeping in mind, the budget is not carved in stone. Just because it's written there doesn't mean it's going to get spent.
Exactly.
You know, it's a framework. You know that, of course. You're in business for yourself, and you know that, you know, a budget is a framework, and we try to, you know, get the budget to work within the millage we set, and then, you know, from there, it's up to us the rest of the year to make sure things don't get out of hand, and actually that we come in under budget. We can do that. Businesses do that all the time. We can do that too.
And
So.
by doing so, which we have proven that we have the ability to turn things around, when we took the city from a state of financial, and the staff really, and with our guidance, with them guiding us and so on and so forth, we made choices to spend or not to spend and pulled ourselves out of a state of emergency. So with this budget, it's workable, and we need to just watch every nickel and dime and pull us so that we can get through this period of time where our housing values are lower and whatnot. So yeah, it's going to be a little trying time, but we'll get there. I have confidence.
Well,
Mr. O'Neill?
I would say, you know, fine, state of financial emergency, but I think in looking at that, we were coming out of a bad agreement with U.S. Water, paying the $48 an hour for the guy with the shovel. I think you remember those days. We made somebody else real rich, but we hurt the city. And, excuse me, as you said, it is a framework. And while we're looking at some of this framework, I think it also it provides some red flags. And I think, you know, we've seen some of the red flags come up before. It took us a while to act. One of those was obviously the water. And I'll just go back. I know at some point Tom will make some comments, but, you know, we were given this sheet right here, which obviously, provides the changes that were set and the impact on those when we talk about carryover and so forth, and CRA. Again, if, as we've indicated, with this course that we're on with particular fund balances that are extremely low and we've not been used to, you combine that with a spending based on percentages in each area, whether we're talking about, administrative, we're talking about public works, we're talking about several areas. Those percentages were developed under the guide of this CRA restatement. And having acted forward on that, we know if we look at these particular numbers and ask ourselves, based on what those reserves are and what we're going to have to, remember now, recently it was discussed, and I think Aaron can validate this, there was the 348,000 utilized to balance that was necessary from CRA, or thereabouts. If you're faced with the same thing next year and the year after that, there isn't anything left there. As a matter of fact, if there isn't anything there, where do you draw the negative from? If we've got, let's say, less than the 700,000 that's utilized for those particular staff numbers, and again, we're still probably 20-some% understaffed from where we were many, many years ago. But I'm just saying, if you have that particular number, you're going to start drawing into a negative. We remember seeing the minus 658,000 and all the other numbers here. Those were important. Now, another area that we touched, and we haven't been able to say too much about it, and I know we've already established a number, and we're going to go forward with that, but I assure you, on an upcoming agenda, I will ask that we put forward and look, as Phyllis had said, looking at each item. Now, we did that in the past, and we piddled with a few dollars here and there. It didn't add up to much. As a matter of fact, at one point, they'd asked that we have each department try to find 10%. They couldn't do that. And they're probably not going to be able to do that this time either. But in going forward, and again, I don't want this to be interpreted as get rid of all of our services, because again, I don't think we'd be a city without some of these services. And those folks that years ago started to try to dissolve the city, there was a lot of conversation then. But if you look at the 2006, and I asked the question before, I'll get some answers because we're going to put it on an agenda. We're going to look at the public safety budget. Now, those numbers from this book, hang on, and I've got it right in front of me here. Anyway, I brought so many books tonight I lost track. From the annual financial report, page 68 highlights a trend. No, it's actually, I'm sorry, it has this.
That's the annual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at from those particular line items at 1.6 up to 2.5, there's a reason for that. That's about $100,000 a year over 9 years of increases. Now look, everybody knows from what I said before in looking up all over this country is between 1996 and 2006, spending in this particular area has increased for everybody 8.6% each year. This city can't absorb that kind of a heavy increase, and that's why I feel like it just needs to be examined. Again, I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm just saying let's put it under the microscope a little bit, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about where those increases came from, because they sure didn't come from just raises. They came from other increases over time. And from my understanding, we've only had one additional employee hired that would add to that number as well. If you got rising costs, you can do, as Terry mentioned, you can cut spending, you can re-engineer operations, or you can look at outside options. Those are the three. That's it. That's about all you got. So again, I would agree, you know, in going forward, as Terry indicated, and I'll encourage you, you really have to look at a lot of these under the microscope. Now, that's just one, but it is important because that's our biggest expense, and I think we have to examine.
Okay. Any other comments?
I made mention of this during the workshops. We need to shop till we drop on health insurance as well. We've been very comfortable with going to the same broker all the time, but brokers have special companies that they like to do business with, ones that they have joined with. Every broker has a group that they usually go through, and with the expenses that you look at in health coverage in this budget, it is shocking at the increases. I think this year we really need to take a hard look when it's time to shop for that. I mean, I know these have been going up for some time, but the increases this year compared to just a few years ago is substantial. So I would like to see council really take a hard look when we come to buy the health insurance, because I remember when I first took this seat, they were paying $10,000 deductible, and I had a problem with that. I still would have a problem with that. It has come down some, but that is where, when you're shopping, and when I used to shop for my employees, I cast a wide net to make sure I got the best deal for everyone involved, and I think we owe the staff that, and we owe the citizens that because they're paying for it.
Thank you, Terry. Anything to add, Nancy? No? Okay. I'm going to do read this resolution by title only. Resolution number 15-08, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, setting the city administration budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2016. I will open the floor for motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a first and a second. I'll go out for public comment. Anybody have any public comment on the administration budget? Okay, back up to council again. We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And against? My motion passes. Let's see here, page 30. Is that right? What page is the utility department budget on?
Page
30.
31.
31?
It's down there somewhere.
Yeah. I looked at 30, that didn't look like it.
There it is.
31, okay, very good. Agenda item number 3, adoption of the utility department budget. Again, discussion on that particular budget. I mean, I think we've pretty much had our discussions on the different budget items, so, but I will open it up. Discussion, anybody from the floor? Back up to council, open the floor for motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion, we got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, motion passes.
Page 42.
Thank you, Nancy. We don't have our usual little tabs here, that's why we're doing a
There
little.
was a time when we didn't have pages on the budget.
Really?
There
Yeah.
was a time,
Wow.
right? Tammy, do you remember? It was the most frustrating thing. I couldn't understand why we didn't have pages. But thank you. You know, it's
Yes,
wonderful.
It is great, yes. So we're on stormwater utility fund
Yeah.
at this point,
Correct.
which is item number 4 on the agenda. And this is the adoption of the stormwater utility fund. Any comments?
Yes. Stormwater utility fund unrestricted fund balance, 96,000. That was highlighted on the handout we were given. In the book itself, page 97, we note capital 14, operating 60, contingency 26. Now, the reason I'm just pausing here with the stormwater is it's an area that we have addressed. We have, or maybe just myself, I don't know, have encouraged Tom to reach out to Burton and Associates again. I'd like to get that on an agenda. Again, here's our graph. Tampa $3, Port Richey $3, Gulfport, everybody else higher. Tampa just took care of theirs, so Port Richey stands alone. We need to take care of ours. Now, I don't know what this equates to dollars-wise. One could just guess. You know, again, we're not out to rob the residents. We're just out to provide more service, better service. And I think we can do that. I think we can do it at a fair cost. So again, just, you know, moving forward with that, I'm sure it'll take them some time to put that together. But let's get that on an agenda as well, so we can move forward on that. Again, just looking at, you know, the balance and, you know, where we know we're going to need to be. There's an area where we've talked about several times.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Any other comments on the stormwater utility fund? Okay. I'll do a reading. Again, resolution number 15-10 by title only, a resolution by the City Council, or the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, setting the stormwater utility fund budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2016. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I will go out to the floor again. Anybody has anything to say on stormwater? No. Bring it back up to council. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? None. Very well.
47?
47, thank you. This is the item
Madam
number
Secretary.
5, the adoption of the penny for Pasco budget. Comments? Any comments on this particular one? Okay. Then I will do the reading by title only, resolution number 15-11, resolution by the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, setting the penny for Pasco budget capital improvement plan for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2016. Any comment from the public? I'll bring it back up for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it passes.
Wait, do we have a motion?
54.
Do we have a motion and a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had a motion second. You go. motion
The
it.
penny for Pasco?
Yeah, me and then Terry Rowe.
And Terry.
I thought that was for the stormwater.
No,
Okay.
well, we did that too.
I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll redo
it
it
again?
I'll do it, make the motion again. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Okay, and then we will officially vote that out again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
I don't,
You might be right, Tammy. Sometimes it zips along.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to contradict you.
No. We are on the last one, are we not?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Which is item number 6 on council business, adoption of CRA budget, page 54.
4.
Comment? Beyond comments we've already made on this subject?
Well,
Sorry.
I'll ask the question. No one wants to ask it. The formulation, I mean, if we look again at CRA fund balance. Now, a reason I just make a point, and again, I know everybody knows this,
Why are you
Is that-
telling us, Steve?
well, because I think the reduction is, has been significant. And again, with our present situation and funding what we do under the guidance legally of what we had back in '09, this has drawn us to a point where you're very dependent on these specific dollars. And I guess I just want to, and whether or not Aaron or Tom wants to make a comment on the impact of what we think we're going to see in relation to that. Now, Phyllis has mentioned that this would be over a long period of time that we still have the CRA coming. That could be in question. We've had other senators and so forth that have been against this CRA. So, right now we're fortunate to get it, and I hope we continue to get it. but obviously we're seeing less and less. Now, whether that has stabilized and reached its lowest point and it's going to increase a little bit, I just think it's a very important number, and yet formulation-wise, you could ask a lot of people what the formula is, they couldn't tell you. The number is somewhat variable, so,
Well, it should
I-
increase with property values if they go up.
which
No, actually,
in our area has been very slow.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
If the ad valorem amounts go up, the CRA goes up.
okay. Any other comments from council? Okay, read resolution number 15-12 by title only. Resolution by the CRA Board of the City of Port Richey, Florida, setting the Community Redevelopment Agency CRA budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2016. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments from the public? Mr. Breedlove?
Thank you. I'm Bob Breedlove, 5143 Limestone. You need that, Tammy? Yes, sir. Okay. CRA is for community redevelopment. We're using it to pay bills. We're using it to pay shortages. And it is going to go away, but it's not being used for its purpose, community redevelopment. 35,000 is a drop in the bucket to what the city needs to get out of the blighted condition that this CRA answers, supposedly. So my comment is, you're going the wrong direction, cutting the paint up, fix up, and you need to increase it and allow those who need it easier access to it. In order to use that, you've got to spend the money first, then go get reimbursed portion of the funds. It makes it very difficult for those on limited budgets to take advantage of the program. Because really, those on limited budgets, who of those people have the money to make the expenditure first and then wait 30 days to get a reimbursement? I took advantage of that program when I first moved here. We needed a new roof. We didn't have the funds. We don't have the income. I'm not a high income earner. I'm doing better now, thank you, because I've gotten a different job. But when I was here initially, I fell into all the means categories you could hope to give, income-wise, property value-wise, property need. It helped me replace my roof. Thank you very much. But I watched a neighbor, a very affluent neighbor, get 3 times that amount of money for his new air conditioning system, and he was just jubilous. So it is being misused. But it needs to be still in the budget for the citizens to take their homes from the blighted condition or the non-optimum condition and put them in optimum shape. But please, make it where they can make sense of it, where they can use it. How many people, I've said it, if you don't have the money to pay up front, then wait for a reimbursement. You can't use the program. And the program is for the purpose of community redevelopment, not bill paying. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back up to council. We have a first and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Resolution passes. That being it, isn't it? As far as our agenda, all the business before us in this meeting this evening, I look for a motion to adjourn.
Are you not going to take any final comments or anything, sir?
If you'd like to. I looked for a motion, but you made a comment. so.
I guess I want really to repeat what I said at the beginning of the meeting, where this is a workable budget, but I seriously want council to, I don't know, make a promise. I don't know how else. I feel like I'm Donald Trump, who's going to say, I'm not going to vote a third party. I'm going to just go straight Republican. I don't know. I don't know what the proper word is.
Politics.
I guess I would like council to assure the people that you will take a look at the budget. you will do it carefully, one department at a time. Because I think what happens once the budget is quote-unquote put to bed on September 30th, it's all but forgotten. And I don't want that to happen, because there are departments that I look at that I feel do not justify the amount of employees that are in that department. And I just want to be sure that the people are going to know that council is going to look at each and every department and make the proper cuts. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a terrible job. But I can tell you that there are some departments, I would not say it here tonight, but I can tell you that I feel that there are departments that could save us a considerable amount of money if we seriously looked at whether or not that number of people in that department is justified.
Thank you.
May I just make a quick
Sure.
comment? That being said, I don't feel, have we gone line by line? Matter of fact, when I look at this budget, I go line by line. But is it really appropriate for somebody like me to go through the fire department line by line, not knowing anything about how the fire department operates? So, I would like, and before we start to do or even talk about, staff members and so on and so forth, or the dedicated people that work here, I would like to give each department head the opportunity to come to us with where they think they can cut budgets. I am not making decisions for the chief at the fire department. He knows what he needs. He knows what he might be able to cut. I think they've sat and cut a couple times already. And so, that's what I would look to each department head to do, and come to council and say, okay, we looked over the budget again, because I know they have several times, and here's where we think we might be able to cut. Here's where we may be able to push something off until maybe a year from now or whatever. I don't want to make decisions for people that are in accounting, that know this city better than I do. I don't want to make decisions for the police department. We all agree that the police department has really kind of gone up like this. Our fire department is run mostly on volunteers. So I would look to our employees to come up with those cuts first before we start looking in any other direction.
Thank you.
Bill, I might add,
Okay.
because we opened it up. Okay.
The royal we, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
I agree, and as Terry said before, we do have a lot of work to do. I don't think we're going to have agendas coming up with just two agenda items on them anymore, at least not for a while. Look, if you've asked that each department be looked at, I told you where to start. I told you to start with public safety, and that's where I plan to start. We just need to take a peek. We just need to look and see what the numbers are and ask why we've had that $100,000 a year increase. That can't be related to raises. Let's start there. I don't think, and I would agree with Nancy, that we can look to each department and say, you're going to come up with the 10. We did it before. It didn't work. They couldn't come up with 10%, and they couldn't. And these are people that I think know what they're doing. We got hard workers here at this city. You've got other avenues to address some of those particular rising costs, and we highlighted. You cut spending, and that obviously is a process. As far as raising productivity or re-engineering operations, those are a couple of things. Outside options, sharing or shifting cost. Now, I can tell you, number 3 seems to be popular around other areas of the country. At least from my research. Does that mean you know, we're gonna have to be sharing with Newport Richie or doing this, doing that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, let's look at what's going on around us just as well. I don't think we're gonna get too far if we're looking to folks and say, look, we need you to cut, you know, either a person or cut, I mean, we have to look at, you know, how we're functioning. I mean, for a while ago, we had somebody fill in the building department because we lost that individual. We have functioned well there. We've had certainly a lot of activity going on in Port Richey recently with the addition of Wawa and Phyllis's favorite place, Collier. Chocolate milkshake is good. Anyway, so just, you know, I mean, I know we all love this city, or we wouldn't be sitting up here. Each of us has a passion deep, and this is a beautiful waterfront community. And I think after we've all spent so much time looking at this and seeing numbers, there are things that scare us as well. There's things that certainly scare me that we've had to put in place because basically it's how we have to function to be a city. Otherwise, we're not a city. Anyway, thank you.
All right, very well. I look for
I just want to bring one thing up real quick before we close. Let's get some of these ideas on the agenda. Let's get some of these fundraising ideas on the agenda. You know, we talked about the trash thing. You know, let's get this moving. We talked about, you know, communications tax and
Street lighting.
street lights and so on and so forth. So let's get that on the table.
Well,
Then,
that's
at
it.
that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Who's the second on
So
that?
I'll second.
And Steve seconds. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
I'll adjourn since.
Thank you all.